Well, I think if you take a look as an example at credit cards when they first came out.
Intriguing. The other big Apple news today, Apple Pay, the latest victim indirectly of hack attacks. The mobile payment platform that was touted to be safer than traditional credit cards in and of itself has not fallen prey to a hack attack, but the banks and the credit cards that people use, they are now finding charges for very big ticket items that they never tapped their phones for. But Apple is not really to blame here, at least some say, but whose fault is it? Mercator Advisory Group Vice President of Payments Innovation, Tim Sloan, has his expert opinion right now. Tim, people are saying, wait a minute. I mean, again, I'll hold up this phone. I have Apple Pay too. I haven't used it yet. I'm more like Ron. I need to be taught how to use it. But whose fault is this?
Well, this is clearly a failure on the bank's side. They were supposed to be authenticating the users that were asking to have Apple Pay enabled into their phones to make sure that they were the actual owners of the account. But fraudsters who have a significant amount of stolen information have been able to pose as the individual account owner and have the iPhone enabled for somebody else's account on their iPhone.
Mobile payments, you will agree, are in their infancy right now. But does this scare people off? Should it scare people off?
Well, I think if you take a look as an example at credit cards when they first came out, the fraud ratios were up in the 15 basis points range. And it takes time for a new technology to get out into the market and for us to start to understand how the fraudsters are going to attack us and be able to ratchet that back down again. I think this was something that probably should have been pretty obvious when we initiated it, but there was a real rush to get this Apple Pay announcement out the door, and perhaps some of us forgot to take care of the basics.
So maybe they went to market too quickly, but wait a minute. What do banks need to change this second to make sure that this stops happening?
Oh, I'm pretty sure they've already changed it. It's in the authentication method. So some financial institutions apparently would allow somebody to call up their call center and say, I would like to have Apple Pay enabled on my phone, and they would ask them for their last 4 digits of their Social Security. Well, that's something the fraudsters can easily get their hands on. So what they have to do is perhaps send an authentication code back through the mobile device or the mobile app that consumer already has from the bank on their phone, or perhaps send a code through to the email address that individual owns that is known to be authenticated.
Let me jump in here, Tim, because we only have a little bit amount of time here left. If you are Tim Cook and you're standing there inside the hallowed Apple walls with the guy in charge of Apple Pay, are you guys sitting there saying, let's ditch any bank that can't keep this thing safe?
I think I would have faith that the regulations as they exist, which are going to do double damage on those banks. The banks have to make the consumer whole and the banks have to make the merchant whole. Those banks are going to fix their problem darn fast because the regulations put them in the hole. Okay.
Good to see you. Thank you so much. Tim Sloan, Mercator Advisory Group, Vice President anytime of Payments Innovation. He's the guy who looks at this stuff, but something tells me he's not too worried.